advantage of. If I could just start with one question, Vivian. How do we actually, how do you talk to your fellow students who haven't got an opportunity to be a consultant like you? Is there any way that you can encourage them to become confident like you and feel that they can actually say to the faculty member, that didn't work, or, you know, something, because I think the faculty member would want to know that, but you're right, there's a barrier. So is there anything you can do, or you are doing, that sort of helps to close the barrier, let's say informally, amongst the student body?
I think me being in presence of the class actually already suggests teachers are willing to take the suggestions from the students. And I always talk with my friends saying that actually students can actually talk with their professors about what they did good, or what kind of improvement they actually want to have. I think, and actually, like during me being a student consultant during the class, some students that I know, they will actually come up to me and say, hey, what are you doing in this class? And I will explain more to them, and they actually will comment that teachers, they are like, they were afraid of being afraid of talking with the professors before, but after I explained it to them, they were like, oh, this is a really good program for teachers and to improve, or they sort of know that teachers want them to engage more in the class. Yeah.
I would like to know some, do you have encountered any difficulties when you are a consultant in class?
Yes, definitely, because sometimes teachers may not willing to take the suggestion, which is fine because I'm only giving the suggestions. They are not forced to change their teaching method, or like, because teachers always have their own unique teaching method, which there are, of course, some students like it, and some students, of course, there are some students who always think, oh, the teachers are boring like that. There are always some students like that. These kind of difficulties will happen a lot during the consultation period. And of course, there are also teachers who may ask, are you qualified enough to be a student consultant? And I may answer that because I'm a student, like Dr. Ho has said, for 15 years, and I think I'm qualified to give feedback as a student perspective to the teachers. Any more questions?
A comment around your last point, Vivian, the qualifications aspect. When I was hearing you speaking earlier, if I was an employer and I was looking for management skills or leadership skills, and I heard someone talk about observing behaviour, giving feedback, working with the challenges, all of the challenges around that, I would think this is a tremendous introduction to a management leadership skill set. So in terms of your qualifications, I wouldn't be too concerned about critiquing in that area.
Can I just add to the idea of 15 years? I think when you come here, you're actually unlearning some of those 15 years, because a lot of the 15 years is spoon-feeding the Hong Kong system and all the bad things about the Hong Kong secondary system, not necessarily the fault of teachers, the fault of the system. And I think together we can change things, but we need to change things. You cannot carry on doing what you do in secondary school. It simply isn't what higher education is or should be about. So I think people like you are taking a very bold step in helping with this amazing program. You know, good on. I'm glad I've forgotten I recommended you actually. I'll tell you how much you've changed. I thought you were a postgrad student. I didn't realise you were undergrad. That's why I didn't recognise you at first. Because I taught you last year, right? Or 2 years ago.
1 year.
So then why did you recommend her over other students?
I asked.
How do you recommend
You asked
Yeah,
me.
I asked.
And what I thought. Was it particularly of Vivian?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
specifically,
And I spoke very highly of her because she was very active. I think it's about participating in class. One notices the students who participate. The other one thing I'd add is that you wanted to be an English major student. Right? Some students don't get the major they want, so the ones who perhaps feel bored are the ones who don't feel engaged by the program because they didn't get their first choice maybe, or because they just want to be in university. Obviously it's not your, and they want to be, well, they want to get a university degree and they don't really care about the subject. But you obviously do, you care about the subject, that's very important. So I think that's the difference, and that's something you can help with talking to students who don't know how to engage with the subject. So I think the peer discussion side of this is absolutely crucial to what we're trying to do in Lingnan. I think it's a wonderful program. Wonderful program. Perhaps Liz could say something about the US system as a science college, because you mentioned it at the beginning.
The US system is, I think the biggest difference for me is that students in the US take 4 classes as opposed to the 5, 6, 7, 6 that Lingnan students take. So, or science college students, and American students in general, at most small liberal arts colleges take 4. And you have to be either very special or in big trouble to take more than that. You're either failing or you're super brilliant. So 4 classes, and they have plenty of time. There's no scheduling difficulties with US student consultants. Everybody has lots of time to do their regular work, interact with faculty. And the challenge that I have as the administrator of this program is it's really hard to even find 2 hours to have Vivian go and observe your class for 2 hours. It's really difficult. And so it's really important that, one, we pay you to do this work because it really is extra time on top of a really loaded schedule to do this. But it takes a lot. I mean, you're basically taking an extra class once a week, and then you have 1-hour meetings with your faculty partners before and after the observation. Then there's things like this that Vivian has to come to, and then she meets with me bi-weekly, I think, to sort of troubleshoot any issues. And we're also adapting this program from the US context to a Lingnan context. And so that's taking some fine-tuning. For example, Hong Kong students in general don't like to critique their professors. It's something that you're not comfortable doing. And so the wonderful system that they came up with was Hong Kong students are excellent at Facebook. And so we devised a system that is 1 wish and 1 star, which is based on the Facebook comments. And so some student consultants prefer, instead of listing, here are the things that you did well and here are the things that you need to improve, they simply list wishes and stars. And it's a way of sort of getting around that different way of talking to faculty in a way that's both comfortable for the student to do, it's within the student culture, and also gives feedback to the professor. And so we're working on sort of little things like that. And the Lingnan system requires the faculty member to be a little bit more hands-on and direct. So we would encourage the faculty member to be the one that introduces Vivian or the student consultant to the rest of the class. Whereas in the United States, the student consultant would be the person who stands up and says, I'm the student consultant and I'm working with Professor X, Y, and Z to do this, this, and that. Again, that's something that our consultants are not quite comfortable doing. It's a very public declaration. And so we simply just flipped it and asked the faculty member to be responsible for introducing the student. And I think the effect is, as Vivian said, simply her being there and the faculty member publicly saying, I have a consultant because I'm interested in improving and working with you, actually changes the dynamic of the class in really positive ways. So we're working on, and we're hoping that if you take on a consultant, that you would help us to fine-tune what this program needs to look like and needs to feel like for Lingnan's faculty and Lingnan students.
I get the impression from particularly the postgraduate students are being sort of thrown in at the deep end and are actually sort of teaching a class, some teaching a class independently, not as a sort of a teaching assistant or sort of a supplementary to the main lecture, but some of people here are actually taking the whole class. It strikes me that you need all the help you can get, and this is one wonderful source of help. What I'm interested in, Vivian, and we're going to round it up in a minute because we know you guys are, you know, are busy. But let me just ask you, how do you deal with? You see, the problem with university teachers is most of us don't have a recognised teaching qualification. So we don't have that professionalisation of teaching in the university. We thought, you know, if you've got your PhDs and what have you, you're just thrust into the classroom and that's it. You're supposed to learn how to teach. And people tend to model their teaching on what how they have been taught. So how do you deal with those who basically say, you know, I'm the professor, I know what I'm talking. You must have that come sometimes. How do you sort of deal with that situation?
Of course, I would say every student is unique. Like maybe because the professor maybe from like he's been taught in around 1990s, so just before that, just before this time, and things have changed. Like even the education system, like they changed to a 3-4 system, and students are already a next generation to it, and you can't always just put the older method directly onto the students right now. And students may respond very good, or they can react really bad to the teaching method. And I think we need to insist that teaching is not only for the teachers, but it's actually the main focus is to actually let students learn something from the lectures or tutorials. And there are of course still some professors who are unwilling to change, and I think that's still things we struggle with.
Yeah, of course. Any final question for these two ladies?
I mean, this program is for everyone, so don't think that, oh, because I'm a new teacher that I have to take it, or I mean, it works. I mean, the reason why I introduced this program was I was new to Hong Kong, new to the Hong Kong classroom, and there were things in the classroom culture that I just didn't understand, and I really missed having someone explain to me, okay, the reason why they're consistently talking in the back row is not because they're your worst students, it's actually because they're your best students. And they are continuing the conversation even after you've moved on to something else. And so I was missing to having this sort of person tell me, this is what's going on, this is what's going on in your classroom culture, and this is what you need to do in order to address that issue. So this is a program that's really useful for new teachers, for really experienced teachers who just want to know a little bit more about how they are as teachers. This is great for people who are using new technology for the first time, teaching new material for the first time, or if you've got a core class that you've been teaching and it's got multiple sections and you just want to make sure that it's not you, it's them. This is a really good program for that as well. And Vivian has been trained, all of our consultants have been trained to deal with sort of various different contexts.
Thank you very much.
So we encourage you to get in touch.
Absolutely, yeah, please do. I think it's a win-win situation. We want more people to participate. It takes a bit of courage to participate, but you guys are in that process where I think you can take that because it's going to be perceived as helpful to you, and it will be helpful. So it's a win-win situation. Ladies, thank you very much because they're coming this evening as well, so they have another session this evening. So thank you very much.